Today we'll go over the one second, where did it go? Give me a second. One, two, okay, I don't know why I can't pull this one. Okay, let me pull this one. So if you look at the topics that we want to go over, only test, and we completed the test ng, page factory model, and quiz, log4j is left. So apart from that, we cover all the topics that I wanted to go over. So we talked about select and drop downs already, page element, and only thing I wanted a little bit more is the we talked a little bit about this, but today I will go a little bit more about the locators, window handlers and alerts. These are the assertion we already went over, and alerts and window handlers, it types of uh, it's also types of object handling or Selenium handling. We can go quickly over that. And then because it is more of a practice, and also the way you do it, you read more about it. So alerts and window handlers. So I'll go over that in the next one. So only a couple of topics are left. So today I'll first like to go over the Selenium cheat sheets. So I would like to go over, I want everyone to go over and search Selenium Locator cheat sheet. So when I went over here in the Google, the reason I want now everyone to start, I don't want to give this stuff to you guys as a note. I want you guys to go and research and learn about it, and then figure out how to do the things. That is what I feel is more important. So when I went to this, because you have to start reading stuff, because I think I already said give one basics about the Selenium locators and Selenium. So now you have to start looking into a little bit more deep on your own and self-study. So during the development of web page application, there are many test cases to be executed. For every test, engineer performing actions such as type, click on must is a must on an HTML element. So this is what whenever we interact with the page, which means these are all HTML elements. So these are everything in the page is an HTML element. While performing automation testing, the automation tool should be able to perform this operation on the HTML element. So whatever we perform the actions, we perform on the actions. Like if I click on this link, it's an HTML element. So everything is an element. If I go over to this drop down, this is an HTML element. So everything is HTML element. So how does the automation tool know how to locate an HTML element to perform the needed operation? This is where the Selenium locator cheat sheet comes in handy. Let's explore the type of locator in Selenium locator tutorial, and let's dive into Selenium locator cheat sheet, especially crafted for you. Okay, whoever is Amrita Angappa. So I thank you for Amrita for posting this. And so what are Selenium? If you want, you can go a little bit more about what are Selenium locators. Selenium is widely used test automation framework. We don't have to go over here. Through Selenium, you can automate any interaction such as type, click, double click with a DOM element. So like I explained this one about DOM means within the page element is also sometimes they call it a DOM web elements. And to identify any HTML elements on a web page, you must use locators. So in a common capability, in most every UI automation tool, including Selenium. So she's just saying we have to interact with the locators. That means element locators. Selenium WebDriver locators comes up with packed with different methodologies to identify HTML elements present on the page. Selenium offers multiple support to major web locators. Pick up on the meetings they require. Pick up on one meeting you test requirement. You have prepared the Selenium locator cheat sheet with an eye on what you need to cover without fail. Okay, this is talking more about it. So what are the types of locators in Selenium? So we talked about this a little bit before. So now let's talk a little bit more about it again, because this I believe, because I introduced in the beginning, everyone was like unaware of what are those and how do I use and what are the interactions and stuff, right? So first thing first, let me do one thing. Let me copy this, and I will post this in the model. Where you go? Because this is if you want to create node, you can create your own node now. So everyone is free to create a node on their own. And if you want now, because writing and creating notes is also very important for self-learning. So let me start. Give me a second. Let me add this. Azur. हजुर अन छ है यो स्पिकर कसको स्पिकर अन हो ए हजुर
प्रत्येक जी हो कि
हजुर हो
सुस्मिता म्यामको भयो जस्तो लाग्यो मलाई चाहिँ
और
खुला हुन्छ
I don't think so. I don't have any noises here.
दो जस्तो गराएन नि
मैले त्यो यहाँ स्पिकर सुस्मिता दिदीको देखेर मात्रै भनेको मैले चाहिँ कसको
भिडियो
छ
अन
र
हुन्छ
म-
यो सबै यो रेकर्डिङ छ नि यो फेरि भनिदिए Selenium locators cheat sheet. Okay, all right. So I added this link so that you can have more understanding. This is go over it. So let's go over these are different types of locators in Selenium. And how do we know what are the locators? All these items you'll see whenever if you go to Eclipse and if you want to see the locators, right? Oh, this is not the Selenium. Let me get to the first test ng practice. If I want to see what are the locators in this, if you go here, driver, no, I have to use find element. Where is find element? Oh, didn't I use any find element here? Oh, here you go. By dot. If I do control and space at the same time, you'll see that what are the locators type. All those by are the by locators type. Okay, class name, CSS selector, ID, link test, name, parser link test, tag name, and XPath. So these are the locator. If you look at this by all those, these are the locator types. You can also know by going over the code. And another same thing you can go. These are, if you look at, this is what it is saying here in the same thing in the this page. I mean this website. So what are Selenium locators types? In the Selenium locator cheat sheet, let's cover on the most important types of locator in Selenium in this section of the Selenium locator cheat sheet. So locator ID. Figure out the web element that uses the ID attribute. So whenever you see the ID is an within the element, what happens is the elements have different attributes or different descriptions or the attributes in a sense. The meaning of attribute, if you look at the definition of attribute, I think I'm gonna lose another better synonyms. Attribute means what is synonyms? What are the synonyms for no assigned? I would say the property. Yes, this is what I'm going to say. Yeah, the property. The what it means is what is the if you look at the web element property, depending upon the ID, if the attribute means ID property. So how does each element has a property means if you go and inspect here, if you see here, this is a element, but it doesn't have an ID property. What are the property? It doesn't have any property. Let's see if there's any other element has property here. Let's see, this is a paragraph. P means paragraph. I think everyone should have, I think if you have looked into a little bit more, you would have found that better. Okay, it is href, so this is different. So these are, if you look at this, right, what href, if we're saying class, these are all kind of like attribute or property of this element. So let's see, example would be, if you look at this platform fact, right, this class, what is the property of this class? Means href. So you can say this is a description or the property of a class or this platform element, web element. So this is what it is saying here. So what the attributes are? Attributes means these are what are the property of that element. That's we should know, and then use that property or attribute to identify or find the element. So if you look at find element, itself says find element. So figure out what the web element that uses ID attribute. If there's ID attribute, this is the syntax. Driver dot find element by dot id is the and then id value. You provide whatever id is provided in the element, you use the id, you use the id. Name, if there is a name attribute, and then what you can do is if you see in the, like I said, right, in the brief here, if you go here, inspect, if it has a name element, like let's say it doesn't have name, one second, control F, I do, let me see something. Name, yeah, see, I found something with the name equals. There are more than one. Okay, all right, let's use which element is that, even I don't know. Is element interaction? Let's see. Okay, I don't know which element is this, but name equals something should be there. Okay, yeah, see this one. Okay, they already give some example here already. So okay, this is good and bad both. He already give you example of how to use it. Okay, Not this one. This is the HTML. Okay, I think we'll use the example they provided here. Okay, we'll go over there. So, where we are? What happened? Did I do something wrong? Okay, I think I went a little bit further than I should have gone. Okay, so if you use the name, if you have to find the name attribute, then use the name. If you have a class name, you'll use class name. And link test, you'll use a link test. So link test means as a hyperlink test. Okay, leverage the text hyperlink of a locating of an element. So if you want to use the locator hyperlink, then you use the link test. If you want the partial link test, sometimes what happens, they don't provide the whole link test. So if you want to use the partial link test or to identify the element, then you use the partial link. Then tag name. Sometimes you have a different tag name, right? Unique tag name. In that case, you can use, but usually there will be so many tag name with the same name, it will be difficult for you to find the element by the tag name, which is not commonly used. Okay, this is not commonly used. CSS selector and XPath are one of most of them. ID, name, CSS selector and XPath are most commonly used. CSS that we use to create different types of rules in a web page that can be used to look at an element, web element. So whatever, if you want to use CSS selector, CSS means the it's a defines it. CSS basically means what is the quality. I mean, let me see what CSS means. If you want the CSS W3C school, right? Just understanding, just to understand, right? Not to know a little bit more, but you should know what are those. Okay, what are CSS and stuff. Smaller quality alternative to Bootstrap. No, they're not CSS. What is CSS? No, that is wrong. Yeah, CSS stands for cascading style sheet. So what it is saying is, if within the HTML, you want to know how this table should look like or how this element should look like, you give a style to it. So that is what it is called a CSS. Means what kind of style you want. Like even it says over here, different style rules in a web page that can be used to look at an needed element. So what happens in the web page, like, see, if you look at this one, this is a different style, this is a different color, this is a different location, this is different way they display. So those is called as, each style within the web page, the element is called as CSS. And XPath means the path of a element using the element node. So whatever, if you know what is a node, means the element tag, like whatever tag it starts with, right? HTML, that is an HTML if you use XPath. So how to use CSS XPath, we'll learn about that in the slowly, okay, below. So this one is, I like this one because it also gives you some example of how to, what kind of element, what attributes the elements have and how you can locate the element. So if you look at the ID, right? ID attribute, and here is the syntax we use: driver.find element by ID value. So now driver, I think we should know by, if you want to know a little bit more, you can read about this, what they are doing. But I think it is more of a syntax, and the same syntax is explained a little bit more better. So, but in which conditions can we use ID? So if you look at the element, like if we say example, we inspect the element in the web page and we find this tag in the HTML, right? In that HTML tag, we see that there is an ID attribute. Like this is an ID. If you see an ID, right? If the element, whichever we inspect through Selenium, like in the like Chrome, like we did inspect, and we found that they have the ID attribute or ID mentioned in the code in the web page, then what we'll do is we can use the ID, and most common one used is ID within the most commonly used attribute is ID. In the, if it is present, that's what you have to use. The first priority and first choice should always be using ID, find element by ID. So if you look at your ID, you see here in the web page, and you use the ID looker if it's found. So what is the driver.file element by ID? What is value? That ID value they have provided food radio 1. So we provide food radio 1. So that is how we find the element using ID. Let's go to the second one, name. Similarly, for the ID value, if you look at ID here, there's some element will have the value name also. Like if you look here, there's a name value also. Name equals to food. So they give an attribute of name. So what we can do is we can use the name attribute in this case, because in this if ID is present, first priority should be ID, but sometimes it's not, ID won't be present all the time. So since ID is not present, then second option we should use is name. If you see a name equals to food you present, then what you do is driver.find element by name. output. That's how you use in your Java or in your Selenium code to find an element by using the name attribute. Okay, the third one is if you look at class value. Okay, class name and class value. So class name located Selenium may help Selenium to look at DOM class value. So what happens sometimes in the element you don't have you have a unique class name. But in many cases, people in the coding example, they will use the class name for multiple purpose also. But if you have this unique class name present within the DOM means within the application or within the application page, then you can use the class attribute also. How do you use the class attribute? Like if you have seen the class attribute is here, and you can use saying that by driver.file element by class name and give the class value, class name.
I got a question. I know when I tried last time, you remember, like, it didn't work. I had to do the XPath. I
The
did the
class
same
name
thing. Then.
it will work. It's just sometimes it's not the most preferred one. Let me see what
Okay.
was the application
Yeah, it
name.
didn't work, and then I had to do the, CSS selector.
That
But, I
that is
just want to
always
know.
happens. That is the reason. Like
That's for the
that is one of
submit
the
button, it's for the submit button and the other one.
that is a good one because that is one of the most common issues we have. So sometimes what happens is if you look at a
Yeah,
class,
that's
right?
one.
One
Mm-hmm.
second, because there's a space in between and there could be something. Let me see. Okay, but there is one, but yeah, it should work, but it didn't like to work probably. So yeah, that is it should have used href, which is a hyperlink. It should could have used hyperlink because this is already hyperlink. You could use a hyperlink, partial hyperlink, or the hyperlink is present here. Partial hyperlink would have been other way to do it. Yes, I understand because that is what happens is not every time the DOM interaction and Selenium interacts in the way. That is the reason we have all those locator types so that we can interact. And if one doesn't work, we can use another one.
Okay.
So this is another thing that we have to learn is not that every time you have the same element, it will work. No, it's not like that. Like what you faced is a real time challenge that all automation engineers faces. So every automation engineers will face that problem that whatever locator is present, it may or may not work. In that case, you have to use the alternative one. Right. That's a good. Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that's what we can use. Mukundaji, I'm sick but can try listening. Okay. Sure, Mukundaji. Let's go to the next one, link test. So what happens is if you give a good example for this element, this href means it's a link test. If you look at the a tag means it's also means a link. So when they have href. So if we have that element, you have to use you can use it's a ID a start with the a tag means it's a hyperlink and it is a link and ID is present with the link and they have href also, right? Href whole link is present here. And if you look at our Formy application, it has also href and it has thanks something. So you could also use the hyperlink. In this case, if there's example, if you don't have ID or some other stuff you don't have, and you want to use the link test, in that case, what you need to do is you need to use the link. Like if you look at link test, whatever is the syntax, driver.file element by link test, whatever they use, landing page. In that case, what you could do is driver.file element by submit by link test. You can try that also, Sushmita. When you are doing it, you can try this and use the link test also as a part. Because if you look at the example, so if you want to know when to use which allocator type, then this is you have to look into this cheat sheet and find out what are the elements here and what are the tag HTML element and which I want to use. So you have to get it from this cheat sheet, and this will be helpful. I mean, you can create a note out of it. I started creating the note, but I thought I want everyone to create on their own because yeah, that's what I think everyone should start creating their own notes also because that will be helpful, right? So I realize that if you want to use, make a note of this, everything, make a note of this page and keep it in your, save it in your local. And maybe if you want, print it out because that may be helpful for you to understand. So if you want, make a cheat sheet and print them. So if you look at and print this HTML tags also, so that you know in which case what are you looking and what you're selecting. If you want color, make a highlight of what you need. So that way you can highlight those also, right? So okay, so I was in the link test. So similarly for the link test, if you look at href, element should be a tag, and if href is present, and you can use the link test landing page. And if you want to use a partial link test, so sometimes what happens, the link test doesn't work. There may be multiple ones, and you want to use a partial link test. If you use parser, you can just, instead of providing the whole link test value landing page, you can just say land, or instead of that submit, you can say sub, I believe. You can practice that, okay, for sub, and see if it works or not, if you go navigate to next page or not. So you can try that, okay. Apart from that, look at the tag name. So tag name is whatever, it's kind of, it shouldn't be using it, it's not much common. So, but you know, every element has a tag, right? So if you look at A is a tag here, this is a tag name, we start with A, means A is a tag name. If you look at the other element in division, is a tag name. So it is just saying that you could use the tag name to look at the element, but this is not very common, because if you use tag, there are so many elements you'll find. It's not only one element, right? It will be multiple. So it's not commonly used, but sometimes people used to use this also, but not very common. Only probably the architect and complex problems, they will use the tag. So you will not be, I don't think you'll have practiced this one, but you can do this to see how many elements it returns. And you can loop through them and print them out and see what are all the elements with the one tag. So if you want, example would be, you just get all the list of elements with a tag and print them using, because there will be, you cannot use Selenium elements. So another thing I kind of fairly introduced in the beginning is find element and find elements. So let me go and okay, I'm going to do is where should I do this? Okay, here only. Hello, I'm going to use a new test. So let me use the third test. Second, third, okay. I'm going to show here system. Okay, third test. I'm going to say this. Okay, all right. And find element by tag name. Tag. Okay, tag name. And I will put A. Let's. I don't know if there's multiple elements or not. Then what we will do is, okay, web elements. List 1 second. Now, since this is a list item, this is a new Java list. We have to use the collection object, and if you look at list element, find elements, there is find element and find elements. Okay, there are two different. Let me see now. Mm, This was another thing. Let me try this one and see. I can start the third one. Let's see, and then run it. Hopefully it runs. Let's see what it does. It's running. Let's see which page is running. Third test. Didn't print anything. Uh-oh. That's all. Oh, it's running. Okay. Running is completed. It's still running. Oh, okay. Still. But why? 1 second.
Yeah, that's what happened when I tried to use the class name. Didn't show anything, and I had to do the something else.
Oh, okay. No.
Maybe
It's
that
not
there,
class
yeah.
name, because I made a mistake here. That's my bad.
Mm.
I didn't use diver.get here. I used diver.get in each test, right? So that's why I have to use the. So either you could do in the before class, which will do before test one time, or you have to use individually diver.get. So, but I didn't use in the previous. That's why I got an error. No worries. I will run it now again. This way it will get the URL, whichever URL I'm using. Oh no, don't, this is cool. This is very slow. So because of this, so you have to remember, either you provide here or here. So that's again comes with practice, right? So okay, I'm using here now. Let's see third test will popular or not. Still loading. Let's see what it's. Usually why I'm the reason I'm using the A tag and by tag name is because there will be multiple elements. and it's more complex, right? There will be lots of elements in there. In that case, they will use this tag. And anyway, I wanted to teach a little bit about find elements also. So this will be a example of find elements. So there are two things in Selenium. One is find element, another is find elements. So if you look at the console, what happens is, if you look at this, it populated only the location. So what happens of the element in the it populated the element in the location of the element in the JVM. So due to this, you don't see the values. Now what I can do is, I wanted to show what I'm trying to do. So what happens is, if you get this tag, there are multiple elements with tag name A. Now what I need to do is, since I want to print out all the web elements contains a text, so what I need to do is, so there's another example of how to get the element text, get the element values. All right, so let's do a web element element, and it will be find, okay, find all elements, and I'm going to write this is the, now this is where we have to use Java and this together. Okay, element, 1 second, dot get text. So what get text does is, it will get you the value of that element. So if you look at this, what does get text means? Whatever the element value or is there, the text value or result value, you'll get the element. And let's see what are all the text value or web element that contains the hyperlink. Let's run this again. So you'll see that. So this is another find elements is another way. So because a tag we cannot use, because it's hard to find. You can use this, but it will be a little bit tough to find all the web elements within the page. In that case, what we do is we use the find all elements. So it's not common, but we have to use in certain conditions. We have to just find all elements. It is when we have some challenges. You'll have this challenge probably when you do the final project. Give me a second. It should be done that. Okay, look at that now. It printed so many things now. Oh wow, how many items are there? Oh, there's so many elements with that tag. I thought there are only few elements. Wow, look at that. Okay. So see what happened is, now I'll show you how to use Java and this condition. I don't know, for some reason it went through all this element and it printed nothing. See, there's some elements are there, and there are all the hyperlink. So these are all the hyperlink present in the it was present in the web page. So W3C school. So the test run, it passed, no failure, and these are all the elements with the A tag name A. So what you saw is we printed all the elements value. If you want to get the text of this element, say within the element, we can use this get text element command in Selenium to get the value. So if you look assert, right? I think we already used in the assert how to assert the title, how to assert the page content and page elements. This is what you have to use. I think this is another thing you will be using in the assert and comparing in the what do you call that, in the, I think this is already done somewhere. I should have taught you how to use get text. So if you look at that now, I'll show you a little bit of how we can use Java also. If element dot get text, yeah, okay, not equals to 1 second, I'll use dot contains, okay, if element does cannot contain. So what you'll do is we'll print this out. So what happened is, earlier all this empty space is populated, right? Now what I add a condition within the condition and within the code is, now if the element, this means not, okay, in the Selenium or in the means this is not element or get text contains, this means contains blank, or if it doesn't contains the empty element, then only print, give me the print. So we see a lot of space, it will remove those space. So let's see. Okay, let's try this one. Hopefully this will work fast. Let's see. Let me try. Let's see what it does this time. It's running the third test. It's running right now. So this the reason. So what happens is the Selenium and Java are related because not every time we can use the, we have to know some Java's rules and some loop and for loop, if condition. See, these are all the, if I haven't directly if I directly go over Selenium, then how to use the for loop, how to use the if and conditions, else condition, contains, not contains, or like, if not means how to use not, how to use as. So those are the step things. Wow. Oh, it didn't print anything. That means text contains, does not contain should have been is okay. Text because it should be is empty. Okay, probably is empty. It would be better. One second, is it empty? Is the empty doesn't take any parameters. Okay, I'll fix this and I'll probably send it to you guys later. But for now, let's remove this one because that will create more confusion. So this is the how to interact with the find all elements within the web page. So let's make that is why I did the reason behind it is I wanted to go over the how to use the tag name. So how people will use the tag name, and there could be multiple elements. So people don't commonly use the tag name. Let's go to the next one, CSS selector. So there are two most important and complex ones among the locators are CSS and the and XPath. The reason why we need to know about CSS and XPath is many of the application or web page, what they do is they don't give the proper locators or proper element attributes. So what happens in those cases? It's very, very tough to find the elements or find the way to how to locate the element. Like if you look at here, this element, whichever it is, say this element doesn't even have proper. If I have to validate this one, how do I validate it? This doesn't have any element. How do I validate? So in that case, what I can do is, and when you right click on this element, if I want to say example validate this element, and if I have to copy, I can do selector, a copy selector. And what you can do is you just try to here, Control V, and you'll see that when you paste this one, you'll see this element, whichever is selected is this element now. So what happens is in the page content, what it will do is it will go and the CSS selector, and this will go exactly in the page, find what are the locators I can use. It's a dynamic. We didn't even create. We can create it, but this is more dynamically created by the this is a feature within the Chrome. So Chrome, whoever browser whoever developed this Chrome, they created this new feature probably because of Selenium, because so much popular now. Even they are helping us sell instead of we creating and figuring out how to create the selector. What they can do is we can right click on this and we can do copy, and we can copy the selector, and this is the CSS selector. If you want to find the element by CSS selector, this will be a CSS selector for this HTML. Because see, if you look at here, it's strong. We cannot use this element for how do I locate this element? There's no way for me to locate this element using the general other syntax, whatever we taught before, right? Whatever we simple ID name or like say class name. We don't have anything. How do I locate in that case? We can use CSS and XPath. So CSS is how do you get the CSS? Right. First, look at the element what you want, and then right click on it, click and copy selector. And when you copy it, you'll see that it will populate the CSS selector. So if you want to go a little bit more about it, I think that will be against different section. We have to look at it. So if you look at this example, what he is doing, this example they provided, even though this element has ID and everything, for some reason he wants to use the CSS selector. You can do that also. In certain times, it's not necessary that you have to use CSS, but always first preference is always ID, second is name. But if they don't have ID and name, third is either CSS or XPath is what is most popular one we use in the real time. So how does CSS work? This if you have, even though this tag he has ID and stuff, right? He can still use the CSS selector saying and this is auto generated. So what happens is, even if the element has proper link and everything, it will generate on its own. Like, let me show you. This one is very long, right, and complex. But if I want to use a CSS selector from this one, which you will see that it will be much simpler and easier. Let's, oh, okay, this one also complex. I didn't expect this to be this complex, but let's see. Let's try this one then, platform. Hopefully this one has simple CSS selector. Okay, yeah, this is much better, right? So this much better selector you can see. So this is a CSS selector for the element platform. So this is one ways to locate an element in the page or in the DOM. So by CSS selector, and then this value is whatever the value you get from right click on the element and from the copy. So this is what you'll paste here. So another one is don't worry about this. I want to go over the no, don't worry about this remaining ones. I will direct, because these are more complex, which we have to, maybe you, this is second level of complexity. So I don't want you to go over there right now. You have to, 1 second. What is the XPath? Did I leave XPath? 1 second. Okay. All right. I don't know why I missed this one. So there's another one is the XPath. So after CSS, XPath is CSS kind of similar. CSS selector has a little bit kind of similar but different ways of identifying the element, but it looks into the similar way. So if I want to get the element XPath, sometimes the ID locator and the other hyperlink link text doesn't work. In that case, what you do, you can also use the same XPath. So first, look at the element which you want to, like, say example, whichever element you want to find the XPath for. Let's say this element located in Selenium, I want to find the XPath. So first it will highlight this one in the DOM, and then you right click on this element, you go to copy and copy XPath. If you do the copy XPath, if you paste it here, and this is the XPath of that element. Unique XPath, why we use XPath and CSS? It will give you the unique location of that element in the page. So this is the uniquely, how to identify the uniquely the element in the page is through XPath and CSS. So it will give you the unique, most unique or only way of identifying the element. And this is the unique way to locate the element in the page. So XPath is, this is one. So again, I'll show you again one more time. Right click on here, copy and copy XPath. That is how you get the XPath of an element. So, and if you look at XPath, they are just saying use whatever element, syntax is same, driver.file element by XPath, whatever name you want to get. It is using HTML tag name it used, but this is a little bit more complex. So this is just this is for now, for our purpose. I mean, in the future, you should learn how to use them also, create them. But for now, I think the part of this course, you have to just know how to generate the XPath by right click, copy, and copy the XPath. Okay, and look at the element to find the element in the web page. So that's where you can use an example in this all this for me application. And the other things which I wanted to talk about is these are different kinds of web elements, right? So in these web elements, okay, 1 second. Okay, let me first complete this. So we are done with this look at a cheat sheet. Okay, so now I want everyone to go and start practicing. If you in the form application, see what are the elements I can do. If, just for practice purpose, if you look at the say example, there are many elements, right? Say radio button. I think they did a mistake here, but if you inspect here, it will let you know what are the label we can use, what are the radio buttons example. So if you right click on it, copy and see what you get, the XPath, what selector you get. So practice those and then see what you can get. Okay, did you say only 1 out of 1? Because that is what our task is. Find the unique way to locate an element in the page. If you show 1 out of 1, that means it is unique. So use, this is an CSS selector. If I want to do the XPath, what will happen? Let's copy the XPath. Let's see what it does. Okay, it populated the XPath. It is 1 out of 1. When I go over here, First time when I click enter, what does it highlight? It highlights this element, radio button. So this is correct. So that is how you need to practice them. Now these are all elements are here, different components are here, and you need to practice these elements. Okay, and then we already talked about some date drag and drop. So those are all the simple interaction, web page interactions that you can perform. So I think that's all I had for today regarding the XPath. Let me see what I was trying to teach more. Yes. So yeah, how to use different locators. We talked about this today, and page elements and interaction. I think we did already kind of that also today. How to interact. I mean, we did multiple times, but again, I displayed this also today. Drop downs we already done. We already did some example drop down. Alert type. So alert is another thing which I want to start today or maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll do the alert. Okay, tomorrow we'll do the alert and window handlers for tomorrow. And next week, I think probably one day we'll go over the most of the time we'll go over the final term. Okay, next week. I don't think page factory and log4j. Maybe I should do it next week. Okay. I think I'll do half an hour for Pace Factory and Log4j because Pace Factory is a little bit complex, so I want to spend a day on that. Yeah, let's do that. I'll do the Pace Factory and Log4j next week. So tomorrow we'll go over the window handlers and alert. So that's all I had to say for the today's locators and how to interact and how to use. So it's all about practice from here now. And apart from that, I will add this find web elements. So this is another example which I didn't want to use it, but yeah. So this is another example how to use the find web element. So sometimes we have to use find all elements also because in certain conditions, these elements will not work. So, and then how to print all these elements text, how just to learn the syntax. I don't know how to do this. One second. Maybe I'll create a new class for this one. One second. I have to create a new find because this is web elements is a different. One second. Let me copy. Which one is this? First ng. Okay. Find all element. One second. Class name should find all web elements. Okay, example. So I want to make sure I post this example also today. Okay, and I want to remove all others. First, I don't need this. I just need the this one. Okay, yes. So look into this example and how you can see the how I'm using the all web elements and what is the list. So what does list is? It is a collection object. Did I teach you guys a little bit about list, set, array, and stuff, right? Did I teach array? I did, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So array and those are collection objects, right? What happens is if you instead of doing representing element in one, you represent element in the as a multiple element. You can as an in a list way or like in the collection array or some other way, right? Collection way. It means more elements within the element. So in that case, what happens is when I talked about the array, right? What does array means is if you want to represent multiple group of similar elements, collection of similar objects together, and we give the element size, elements name, and how to use and how to get the all those uh, web elements, how to interact in one element, right? So because what happens is in the collection object means or collections means uh, uh, you have to like say, I think what example did I do? Let me look at the example. Not here, right? I think I did. Example would be what did I should have maybe week 5. Let me try this one. Overloading now. One second. Is there array somewhere? No, no array here. Let me see. Maybe look at the curriculum. Where did I should happen? The reason I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure you refresh your memory, Steve, because these are important concepts which we have to use. So what happens is in the I don't know where is that. If you want to represent lots of elements within the array, right? So what we do is we created instead of just like first time we did, right? String name equals to something we did, right? String name equals to student first name, second name, last name. Do you remember that? We instead of doing that, what we did is we use a collection object where we say string and we give the bracket and then say names of students equals to, and then we give the and we provided the first, and then I think we did the second. Oh, sorry, my bad. It should take the other one. It will not take this. Should be my syntax mistake. It should be this one. One second. Yeah. So if you remember, this is how we did, and we navigate, loop through them, and print it out, print the list. So this is again same way. What happens is in Java there are list and set. There are different. This is collection because I didn't go a little bit deep into it because if you start to do that, that is again it's a huge topic. But you need to remember that the what we did like for the names and how we navigate. You go and look into your example, and the same way if you look at here, this is the in collection update means if you want to collect the all these elements as one, so you have to use the collections like like the array is like a array we use, right? Instead of using the single element, we use all the names and how we can do and loop and stuff. So that is how we did before. Similarly, if we want to grab all the elements from the web page, we have to use the collection object, which is called list. There's a list and set are two types, and I don't want to go a little bit deep into it. Just for now, only you need to know it's a list and there is a set, set set. So these are two common types of collection objects, and within that we are using list from here. And list, what we'll do is, and then we have to provide the type, like since we did like earlier, right? String, this type we provided, right? Like because we say we cannot say int here, right? Like if I say integer, one second, if I say int here, see, it will get an error because this is not the integer type, right? So similarly, what happens is this is not an integer type. This I'm providing the string to integer. So similarly, what happens is I'm saying list, give me the list of web elements. Since drive all these elements in the Selenium provides this whenever you return the driver.find elements, right? What if you remember here we did before is find the web element. Like when you said web element, when we said web element, element, whatever name you say, like say submit button, right? Which is submit button equals to driver dot find element by dot id, and we provided some value, and we did okay. Close the bracket and then close. Yeah, by id. All right. So this is what we did. When you said this example previously, we said web element. Now, if you want to grab the list of web elements, means collection object, you have to give the what data type. So data type here is integer, means data type here is web element. So what is syntax is list web element, and then you give the like variable not variable name, and variable name, what are the what variable you value you are getting, values you are getting it through the driver dot find element by tag name a. So it will give you the list of all the elements with that. So this is variable name variable. So look, if you compare this with our previous examples, it will be more clear for you, and you have to link those together. So this is what we did here. So if you look at this is other example I wanted to demo so that we can you guys understand what we are doing here. Similarly, now the list of elements, what happens is the web element, if you want to print it, it is a list. How to interact with the list of elements? You remember we couldn't use, we have to use the loop and other things to interact with the web element. Similarly, we have to use the for loop to interact with the web elements. So that's the reason we have the web element, because this is the element. Since web element is an element type web element, so we have to provide the same element. If I do here, like say example string, if you see there's an error, what it is saying is change type to element to web element. See, it gives me directly. So because if I want to loop through the elements, it has to be the same data type. So element, since we find web elements, data type is web element, we have to use the web element to look them. So for web element, find out element, system.outprint, I'm right here. So what it will do, it will find all the elements and print the element.get text. So if you look at the go, you have to look into our old examples, Java code, how we did and what we did in here. So if you look, you'll be more clear to you guys. Okay. So this is again, one thing which you should not forget reading, going revision. Revision is very important, right? So this is one of the example that you should don't forget how to revise once over, because you have to yeah, that's all I can say. The whole topics are interlinked. All the topics you shouldn't miss, and you should always remember and always practice on top of them. The old topics you shouldn't say, okay, that's done, now let's learn only about the new one. No, it's not like that. So no, I don't want to do that. My bad. Let's go back. I'm going to say the and assignments. I don't know what to say. File. Okay, I'll put the file here. Find web elements example. Okay, let me use the file here. All right, so I added this one example here. Yeah, Selenium 5 web elements example. If you look, I think probably it will download the class itself. So why did I use that one? Okay, so these are the example for today. So now rest of the time class, take a break and focus on the final exam midterm. If you have completed that, start looking into the GitHub and stuff. Start looking into that, setting up the GitHub accounts and how to create. You can start doing that if you have completed the final project. If not, today, the rest of the day will work. All of you will work on the final project and / exam. Okay. Any questions on that? Any questions? If I'm only one speaking, or
We're also here.
No,
okay.
sir.
All right, then please continue the what is the final term? Where did you go?
So it's a break right now, a little bit.
It's a break, and then all of you will continue working on the final exam that which I posted, I think here. Yeah, for me. This will be your, and everybody will concentrate on this one remaining the rest of the time. Okay. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, I found this one. One second, let me share this.